Now, to forbear for ever so little of Irish trees and lily-orangans, concerning the genesis of Harold or Humphrey Chimpton's occupational agnomen, we are back in the pre-surnames Proto-Morris period, of course just when Enos chalked hull traps, and discarding once for all those theories from older sources which would link him back with such pivotal ancestors as the Dlues, the Gravies, the Northeasts, the Anchors, and the Earwickers of Sidlesham in the Hundred of Manhood, or proclaim him offsprout of Vikings who had founded Wapentake and settled him in Herrick or Eric. The best authenticated version, the Dumblat, read the reading of Hafod ben Eder, has it that it was this way. We are told how in the beginning it came to pass that like cabbaging Cincinnatus, the grand old gardener was saving daylight under his redwood tree one sultry Sabbath afternoon, Hag Chibichas Eve, in pre-fall paradise peace, by following his plough for rootles in the rear garden of Mop House, ye old Marine Hotel, when royalty was announced by Runner to have been pleased to have halted itself on the high road along which a leisure-loving dog-fox had cast, followed also at walking pace by a lady pack of cocker spaniels. Forgetful of all save his vassals' plain fealty to the ethnarch, Humphrey or Harold stayed not to yoke or saddle, but stumbled out hot-face as he was, his sweatful bandana loose from his pocket-coat, hastening to the forecourts of his public in toupee, surcingle, sola scarf and plaid, +4s, puttees and bulldog boots, ruddled cinnabar with flagrant marl, jingling his turnpike keys, and bearing aloft, amid the fixed pikes of the hunting party, a high perch, atop of which a flower-pot was fixed, earth-side, hoist with care. On his Majesty, who was, or often feigned to be, noticeably long-sighted from green youth, and had been meaning to inquire what in effect had caused yon causeway to be thus potholed, asking substitutionally to be put wise as to whether paternoster and silver doctors were not now more fancied bait for lobster trapping. Honest, blunt Harenfeld answered in no uncertain tones, very similarly with the fearless forehead. "Naw, ye maggers, I was just a-cotchin on Don Bluggy ye wuggers." Our sailor king, who was draining a guglet of obvious Adamale, gift both and Gorban, upon this, ceasing to swallow, smiled most heartily beneath his walrus moustaches, and indulging that none too genial humour which William the Conk on the Spindle side had inherited, with the hereditary whitelock and some short-fingeredness from his great aunt Sophie, turned towards two of his retinue of gallaglasses, Michael Etheling, Lord of Leeks and Offaly, and the Jubilee Mayor of Drogheda, Elcock, the two scatterguns being Michael M. Manning, Protosyndic of Waterford, and an Italian excellency named Jubilee, according to a later version cited by the learned scholar Canavan Can MacNoise, in either case a triptychal religious family symbolizing puritas of doctrina, business per usuals, and the purty patch of hamlock where the paddish pretties grow, and remarked dulcely, "Holy bones of St. Hubert, how our red brother of Portingrania would audibly fume did he know that we have for Sir Trusty Bailwick a turnpiker who is by turns a pike-bailer, no seldomer than an earwigger." For he kin John Pill with his coat so grey and his haunts in his house in the morning. One still hears that pebble-crusted laughter, jappy-jap, chirry-chirrily among the roadside tree the Lady Homepatrick planted, and still one feels the emossive silence of the Cladstone allegibling, "I've my outside born." Comes the question, are these the facts of his nominee gentilization, as recorded and accoladed in both or either of the collateral Andrew Paul Murphic narratives? Are those their fata which we read in Sibylline between the Fass and its nefas? No dung on the road, and shall no home e'er be our place like? The great fact emerges that after that historic date, all holographs so far exhumed, initialed by Herr Humphrey, bear the sigla HCE. And while he was only in long and always good Duke Humphrey for the Hungarian spalpeens of Luca Lizard, and shimbers to his cronies, it was equally certain a pleasant turn of the populace which gave him, as sense of these normative letters, the nickname, "Here comes everybody." A baser meaning has been read into these characters, the literal sense of which decency can safely scarcely hint. It has been blurtingly bruited by certain wisecrackers, the stinks of Morahat are in the night plots of the morning, that he suffered from a vile disease. Asthma on man of them. To such a suggestion, the one self-respecting answer is to affirm that there are certain statements which ought not to be, and one should like to hope to be able to add ought not to be allowed to be made. To anyone who knew and loved the Christ-likeness of the big, clean-minded giant, H.C. Earwicker, throughout his excellency-long vice-regal existence, the mere suggestion of him as a lust-sleuth nosing for trouble in a booby-trap rings particularly preposterous. Truth, beard on prophet, compels one to add that there is said to have been quondam fuit some case of the kind implicating, it is interdum believed, a quidam. If he did not exist, it would be necessary quoniam to invent him, about that time stambling around Dumbling in leaky sneakers with his tark record, who has remained tupentically anonymous, but let us hew him Abdullah Gamalexarsky, was, it is stated, posted at Malins at the instant of watch warriors of the Vigilance Committee, and years afterwards cries one even greater, Ibid, a commender of the frightful seemingly unto such as were Sulhan sated, tropped head, fiat, waiting his first of the month fruit's turn from the Chopacabas Alicubi on the old house for the charge hard, Roach Haddocks off Hawkins Street. Lo, ye blondie liar, gob seen in the market-place, and she what's eateth her home defileth these boils. There's a cab full of bash indeed in the homer of that meal. Slander, let it lie its flattest, has never been able to convict our good and great and no ordinary southern earwicker, that homogeneous man, as pious author called him, of any graver impropriety than that advanced by some Woodwards or Regarders, who did not dare deny, the Shomers, that they had chin ted, chin tam, chin taffet, that day consumed their soul of the corn, of having behaved with ungentlemensky immodus opposite a pair of dainty maidservants in the swooth of the rushy hollow, whither, or so the two gown and pinners pleaded, Dame Nature in all innocency had spontaneously and about the same hour of the eventide sent them both, but whose published combination of silken lane testimonies are, where not dubiously pure, visibly divergent, as wept from wept on minor points touching the intimate nature of this a first offence in Verter venison, which was admittedly an incautious, but at its wildest a partial exposure, with such attenuating circumstances, garden gaddeth green where soapman broideth girling, as an abnormal St. Swithin's summer, and Jesus Rose of Sharon, a ripe occasion to provoke it.